Welcome back to another episode of Ignite Agility. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting Loren Horsager from Model Mind AI. Loren, welcome.
It's fantastic to be here. Thanks for having us, Angela.
So, I am so excited to get right into it because we are using this conversation to kick off a brand new partnership between our two organizations. And tell me a little bit about what first kind of either put us on your radar or what made you think, hey, I'd like to work with these people.
Well, I think part of it is we had been in your space for a while, right? Using it, doing trainings. And I think the combination of just the experience and then talking to you and your team about just how you guys deliver training. I don't feel like there's a lot of people that are great at delivering training. So we're super excited about this partnership where we have the knowledge about AI, and you guys have such deep knowledge about how to deliver to our audience, which is business users, right? How do you help take them through a process and actually, it's not training's irrelevant, right? Training only matters if you're going to do something with it. And
Use
so
it or lose it. I always
it,
say, use it or lose it.
exactly. So I think we agree on the same approach on that, like it's hands-on. We got to get in and do this in person if at all possible. And actually that's really our goal. And so I think just seeing that in you guys and our team's approach, that really got us to connect. And now we've been super excited. We've been using your space for trainings we're doing, and just this partnership going forward, we're very, very excited about.
And you're alluding to our little sister company, West End Conference Center. For some people who don't know, we have a physical presence in St. Louis Park that we built selfishly for us to hold, our Scrum and Agile and Lego Series Play, all the things. But we've always rented it out to other people who also need a professional space to go. And tell me a little bit about that. What's the reaction been like, not only from your team who uses us quite a lot, but then your participants for the Model Mind AI classes?
Yeah, we were in a space that was okay down in Edina for quite a while, and it worked okay. But everybody that comes to your space is blown away. Just the quality of service, the quality of the space, the tool set for us is fantastic. We do a lot of exercises where our classes are very hands on. So get up, and normally we'd have to put the sticky paper all over the walls because everybody gets up and draws out there what they're trying to build and stuff. And in you have these rooms that have whiteboards all the way around them, which I'm a huge fan of whiteboards. So I love that. I have got, I don't know how many compliments from people that have been in the space for our trainings. And not only that, I think we have a few people that we've worked with, like allied executives, and done a bunch of events in your space, and they have really, I think they've done a lot more beyond that. It's such, if anybody's looking for space, it's a fantastic space in West End, and easy to get to, covered parking, which is nice in those winter months, and just a fantastic space that is very well operated and managed. So yeah, we really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, like we always tell people, we selfishly built it and it's a space built by trainers. So we thought of all those little things that other people don't normally think of. And so when you talk about teaching adults, right? That's the one thing we have going on 2 decades of experience doing. And it's
Mhm.
not the same as
It's
teaching
not.
kids. It's
It's
just
not.
not. I
It's
always
not.
tell my son's teachers, I do what you do. My kids are just bigger. And
Okay.
well, and you talk about the adult attention span, man. I mean, we have to use a lot of theories of adult education in our classes. In person, totally used them all throughout, but some of ours have even flipped online. And
Right.
the feedback we consistently get is people say the time flew by, it was interactive. They
Yep.
got practical, actionable things they could immediately use.
Mhm.
How does that kind of align with Model Mind's philosophy to delivering training about AI, which, quite frankly, some people might be a little scared of or
Right.
hesitant to get into?
Right. And we can't. Two things there. So I think we're in exactly alignment in that when we go do training, we need to be where our learners are. right? And so it's not about what we want to get across. It's how do we bring them along in this process? Because my goal is that you walk out of our trainings and you have something that you can take back and apply the next day. So that means we really focus on hands-on learning in a way that you bring your computer, you want to work through your examples in class, because I want you to actually build things in class so you can go do right after this, right? So we really have to stay focused on how do we get the engagement, but how do we also allow the customization? We limit our class size to 20 people in a class, but we do that because we most of our days our classes are full day classes. And what's interesting, we focus the morning usually on let's everybody do the same exercises, kind of build up the concepts that we're working on in that class. And then our afternoons are really focused on what do you, Angela, want to do with AI in this case? And so this is where we get up and like you draw out on the board, like what do you want to do? How are you going to design this process? What do you need it to interact with? What's your data look like? What, like all these questions that we go through as part of the process. You're building your solution. The person next to you is building their solution. They might
Mm.
be radically different, right? We had people in class recently. We were working on um, just how to build out a workflow, and everybody had different workflow ideas, right? So it was interesting. We had a guy there from the food bank, and he was trying to figure out how to route their trucks better because they actually go deliver to a whole bunch of different food banks. And with fuel prices up, they were trying to figure out how to route better. Well, it turns out there's another guy who focuses on supply chain management, and he was trying to figure out how, like, he's looking for a job, and he was like, they kind of partnered together and worked through this together, and we're actually able to come up with some very interesting solutions leveraging AI and their workflow process specific to this class, and able to leave class with something, right? That's what we're trying to do. We want this to be actionable. And again, training for training's sake is useless. It's you have to apply it, which means you have to be able to take something back to use.
Agreed. And I remember when Christian Antoine from our team was having his initial conversations with you, he's like, "Oh my God, they sound just like us. They're just like us." And I'm like, "Okay, whoa, whoa, whoa. They're, I know we're both small organizations. We're very entrepreneurial in spirit, but what do you mean?" And he goes, "You've got to talk to Loren because when he talks about going into these companies, he can just list out all the classic mistakes. He goes, it's just like us. We go
Yep.
into an agile or a scrum adoption and we can just go boom, boom, boom. Here's where your pitfalls are going to be. Yeah, and we can talk to you about agile and scrum all day long. Who cares? So can a bunch of other people. But we really excel at being able to show them where they're making mistakes, how
Yep.
to avoid those mistakes in the first place, right? Or how to correct them if they already put their foot in it.
Right.
And he said that you are that guy when it comes to AI. So talk to me a little bit about that,
Well,
the coaching aspect and teaching people to avoid some of those mistakes.
well, now the goal is that you're also that guy. So
Well, or
that gal.
gal,
So
or
so
gal.
so that's actually the challenge that we run into is how do we add more trainers to, and this is what we've been thinking about a long time, which is why we're excited about this. Like you guys get the process, and I think the process is the hardest piece. We can teach the AI component to you guys, which we've been doing, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is why we're super excited about this. So I think it's critical to go through a class and actually have something on the end. That doesn't solve everybody's problem, and that honestly that doesn't solve a lot of people's problems. So when we were starting this 4 years ago, thinking about like I have 35 years of AI experience, right? So this is not new to me, but training is a new thing for me. And I think it's interesting. We were trying to figure out like what is our special skill that we have, and it's really helping businesses think through. I have lots of consulting experience, so like how do you think through and understand and figure out how you're going to solve a problem. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not get to the solution immediately, but like, how are you going to solve it though? And that just fits in really nice with how AI helps us do that now. And then coupling that with our training. So what we really focus on is two things. One is we have 30 different classes we offer actually. Most of those are technical classes that we don't teach very often, specifically sometimes with universities and stuff like that. But we have these 5 kind of core non-technical classes for business users, and that's mostly what we do, which is what you guys are coming on to help work with. And then the second piece of this is go through training. Now, what do you do with your team? We have coaches to help coach you. And
Mm-hmm.
basically the way that works is go through class, and then we're going to have weekly sessions for usually 12 weeks where it's like, hey, what are you trying to do? Where are you stuck? What's your next idea? And usually in that time with a client, well, we like to take a team of 5 through this. Is kind of the preferred. We'll do individuals and stuff, but we'll take a team of 5 through this process together, and then they'll go through the coaching process together. And usually they'll develop 2 or 3 AI solutions in that time. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is help our clients develop the right solutions using AI. So I think it's interesting because so much of that, like we get through a lot of that setup in class. But then the challenge is, how do I actually go implement this? Like, hey, now I have this specific idea and I've
Mm-hmm.
seen that this might be possible. And that's where it really takes the coaching. Like, hey, can you help me figure out how I can actually structure this, how I should go about this. Is this an agent? Is it a workflow? Is it like trying to figure out what that process looks like? And that's where we come alongside. But because the people, they've gone through class already, they can actually build that out once they kind of just get pointed in the right direction. And that's what we've been seeing over and over and over again, which is, it's really cool. It's amazing what our customers can do going through this process. We have a customer in Florida that went through class in January, and then with a little bit of coaching, they tell us they've sold over $10 million in a new product that they developed using our process from class, right?
Wow.
And we have a whole bunch of examples like $500,000, million, 2.5 million. Like this is a big deal, and it's changing how companies are operating. And we kind of have this AI promise out there that this can solve all these problems. It's actually not true, and we'll tell you there's lots of things AI can't solve,
Yeah.
but there's things it can solve, and it can solve really well. And it's how do we pick those things so we're actually focusing on the right thing so we can actually get real results. Again, I'll go
Yeah.
back and say it's not about training, it's about the results you get when you get it done.
Well, and there's so many AI trainings out there, and that's, you know, so many people who do what I do for a living, Agile and Scrum training and things like that, will say, well, we're just going to go teach AI. And I look at some of the things they're doing and I'm like, so this particular partnership is very intentional and strategic for both of us. And so it is the model mind approach, it is the model mind curriculum. What can you just kind of elevator pitch say about why is model mind so different from all those other AI
I,
providers?
I think it's interesting. I go in and I on sales calls and talk to people, and I do a lot of speaking, and people come up to me and like, "Wow, I've never heard anybody say what you say about AI." And I think part of the challenge is like I'm always like, "Okay, am I saying something wrong?" That's my first
Right?
response.
So
Okay,
it's so
let's
different.
fix this. But that's not actually true. It's like you have to be realistic about this. But there's so many exciting things that AI can help solve, but people are promising way too many crazy things that
Mm,
it's just never going to be able to do. So you have to be realistic. But at the same time, you have to help think through. It's like, okay, someone will come to us with an idea. It's like, hey, I want to solve this. I'm like, okay, how are you going to do that? Where's your data? How are you going to access these things? And it's like, well, I can't do that. I can't do that. Like, here's the constraints. And then we kind of help them, and we use AI for this process, or we kind of walk them through the process of how to think about this so it's not dependent on us. Is how do I think about this in a way that maybe the solution's a little bit adjacent to this, but I can actually solve maybe not the problem I thought, but a different problem that's actually giving me more value or equivalent value in a different way, right? So a lot of times when we think about AI solutions, they're not quite what we expected up front. So that it's just something to think about.
and Rand is going to go first from our team because he was like, first one into the pool when this stuff all started. And the story that I share with people as a small business owner is our network
Yeah.
in our physical space. We were paying a third party $650 a month, and they were supposed to be monitoring it, tuning it, all the things. Well, it was just an expense that I started to question once he turned Claude loose on our network and found all kinds of things and tuned it, optimized it with Claude's help, and we didn't renew the contract with the vendor. Okay,
Yep.
so my little business, okay, that's not a $10 million story like the one you were talking about, but it's a $650 a month for
Yeah.
12 months. It
But
adds
that's
up.
how it
It's still
starts.
that's exactly how it
So,
starts.
so what we're trying to do, like in our first classes, our fundamentals AI, the one-on-one class, you're not going to solve a $10 million problem. But what you're going to do, our goal is that you understand the fundamentals and you can go apply something out of that that
Mm-hmm.
maybe saves you personally an hour a week.
Yeah.
Well, now what do you do with that hour a week? Now, when we get to the second class, you're getting deeper. And then by the time we're in agents and workflows, or our process, like our second brain class where it's building your assistant, you have the foundation for all that. Now we're talking about solving company-wide problems that really do get to that 500,000 million. Like it's crazy what's possible. You got to start small, and you're trying to just incrementally then take advantage of those savings, but not by like I think it's interesting. A few years ago, when we were starting to do this, 4 years ago, someone came to me and they're like, "Hey, I want to let my whole team go and have AI do everything." I'm like, well, good luck with that. That's not going to work. We need people to run this process, right?
You're always going to need people.
And, and what I think is interesting, though, is the goal is how do we accelerate our companies by leveraging AI? And that's what's so exciting about this is because we can find the one thing and we save an hour. Now, it's not that we're cutting someone's time by an hour. Obviously, we want to use that hour to now build the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And now what you know is, all right, 3 months down the road, all of a sudden we've increased our revenue by 10% or something by doing all these processes, and we've freed up more time and we're running more efficiently, and people are actually happier with what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
That actually brings up a really interesting story. There was an article published recently about developers using AI, right, which has had a huge impact. You know, you can easily a developer should be able to 10x what they were doing 2 years ago to now with AI. And I think it's interesting. I can't remember where this was published now, but they published an article and they did some research about happiness in developers using AI.
Hmm.
And I believe it was something like 75% happier in the developers using AI because, and you think about developers, I can say this, I'm kind of a traditionally a developer
And
that,
me,
it,
I'm a former developer. Most people who follow me know that. So,
and so because of that, they kind of have this expectation that you're not very social and not good with people and stuff to some degree. But that's the, like, people are 75% happier using AI because they get a dialogue with it all day long, and they don't feel the same negative energy when they get done with the end of the day because the whole day they had a conversation with someone that they enjoy working with, and actually got results out of. So I think it's interesting some of the stories that come out of AI in ways that are not really predictable, I guess, that we're learning as we go.
yeah. One of the things that we're doing when we leverage Claude is we have kind of snarky Claude turned on because
Yeah.
we didn't like the out of the box flowery answers. We're more of a tell it to us straight, give it to us very candid. So Rand calls it snarky Claude. So
Yeah.
when we get the punch you in the gut answer. So if anybody is listening and going, well, why didn't they involve AI in this conversation? I did. Loren knows
Oh,
this, but I asked Chat GPT for a couple of questions because I said we're going to be talking. So we're going to close with this question crafted by Chat GPT. I'll have you answer it, Loren, and then I'll answer it. If someone is listening today and wondering whether AI is something they should pay attention to or whether this partnership is relevant to them, what would you tell them?
uh, as far as a partnership, I mean, the first part, I guess, AI is relevant because this is going to affect in fact, that's actually probably a good term. Infect everybody. It's going to affect everybody, right? It doesn't matter what your job is, and I will even go so far as to say, lots of people think that, oh, I'm a plumber or I'm an electrician. I guarantee you that AI, it's not coming today, but it's coming for those type of jobs as well. So the question is, we still need smart people in every one of
Mm-hmm.
these roles, whether you are a CEO, whether you're a marketing person, a developer, or a plumber, right? And so we need experts to work with the AI. And that's what I think it's pretty interesting as people go through our classes, they very quickly understand, and our classes help kind of relieve the Hollywood fear of AI,
Yeah.
because you quickly realize that the AI is not doing anything by itself. We have control over what we give it access to, what data we give it access to, what capabilities we give it access to, and it can't do anything other than that. But it also needs humans, smart humans, creative humans that can guide the AI to help develop what we want and the world we want out of that.
Nice. I would tell them AI is not going to take your job. it is going to take your job if you don't adapt and learn how to leverage it.
Yeah.
So to not be afraid. And this partnership is a way to help reach a broader audience, because so many of our followers are like, what else do you teach? What else do you teach? And we get to a point, where we're like, well, you kind of went through it all. Well, now we have something new and exciting that's relevant, and
Yeah.
that's going to help them stay relevant, not only in their job or maybe even land their next one.
And I will add one thing to that. So our content, we're pretty proud of the fact our content's updated every week, and that's
That
just
is true. Oh
the
my
way
gosh, that's been like crazy to keep up. Yes.
and so one of our classes we've only had, I mean, it's only been possible to do what we do for a couple months. So we started this in May, and we've taught it several times since then, and we tweak it a little every time. We're actually working on a pretty big overhaul, just because on Monday there were a bunch of changes
Mm-hmm.
across the board in the last couple of weeks, and we're learning, like, as part. So my team is just testing and running processes, and okay, if you were a CFO, how would you do this? And if you are a transportation expert, how would you manage routing on this? And like, we're doing all these tests every day, because the world is changing with AI so fast
Yes, it
that
is.
things that weren't possible 3 months ago are now possible. But that goes into our classes every week. We're updating on tool changes, and but also, like, there's general changes that are across the board. Like, we're not tied to any platform. We use ChatGPT usually and their products for class, but people come with Claude and things, and as long as they know how to use it, we let them do that.
Even
Everything we
Copilot, there's
teach,
even a Copilot class, because I know you have a
yeah,
lot of Microsoft
we do a separate
followers too.
Copilot class, just
Yep.
because it's a very separate beast,
Yes, it is.
in how it works, just because of the tool integration. So we do a separate class on that. But it doesn't really matter what, like, we teach the foundation of this, and you can then say, hey, we learned this in ChatGPT, I can go use this in Claude or Grok or Gemini or whatever you want to use. Like, we're teaching you the ways to do this where it applies across the board, which is, we were at a client a couple of months ago, and they convinced me, which we'll never do this again. They convinced me they just needed the coaching, and they'd gone through other people's classes, and I was like,
I'm already like, oh.
well, they're smart. They're a very technical team, and they're a smart team. But we spent like the first 6 weeks on learning what they had learned, because it was very specific to Claude, and it wasn't going to work anywhere else. And so that method might have worked okay in Claude, but then we were trying to do things across different AI models, and it just was never going to work. And it's funny, because it took a couple minutes one day to say, hey, here's your prompt, here's your instructions that you're using. If we do it this way, it works in all these cases. And they were just blown away, right? It's like, so it took weeks of retraining them. So bad training is almost worse than no training. So
Oh, amen to that. We know that firsthand. Well, I do think though that's a huge differentiator about how often the content is refreshed and how current the whole team at Model Mind has stayed on everything. And that was something that was kind of an eye opener to me when we started to get involved with you all and looking at your content. It's like, I mean, we pride ourselves on updating and staying current on the Agile and Scrum side. It's like, I had no idea,
mhm.
and there's a lot of AI training out there that isn't necessarily updated as often.
Right, right.
Well, Loren, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for stopping by, and we are looking forward to great things to come from this partnership.
So are we. We're very excited, Angela, and working with you and your team, and seeing people in the future as we do events, hopefully in person and online, and wherever they are. But come say hello, and shoot us. I think my contact information will be in this, hopefully, and
We will drop it in the show notes we'll pin it to the comments at the top of the stack so people can find both of us.
feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or email or something. So fantastic.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Bye-bye.